best stories, I think, actually in ancient history come from this period of Persian history. So I hope you guys enjoy. So today we're talking about the Achaemenid Empire, which is typically just known as the Persian Empire. But we're going to know through history, there's going to be tons of Persian empires. Here we see the Persian Achaemenid Empire at its greatest extent. We see it going from basically the Indus River to eastern Greece and Egypt. So it's pretty humongous. Now, this is coming from the Chronicle of Nabonidus and also found within the book of Daniel. You don't have to write this, but imagine the beginning of the Persian Empire. There's the huge feast Balthazar is having. He says, "Bring me the fine golden vessels we took from the Temple of Solomon." And they do, and then they put the pork on. They're like, "We're going to make sacrifices to our gods and goddesses and have a feast." And while he's feasting, the disembodied hand comes and starts writing, "Mene, mene, tekel, parson." Oh, it looks like Mariah has a hand right there, disembodied hand. Oh, no, it's a leaf. And it means you have been weighed and you're found lacking. Your time has come. And of course, you know, the food's probably like falling out of his mouth because he's so freaked out about this hand writing these words on the wall. And then if this was a movie, it would like split screen, and we'd see right now the soldiers of Cyrus the Great breaking down the castle gates, storming in and conquering the city of Babylon. That's how the Persian Empire starts. But we're going to back up a wee bit. So starting an empire. So what you need to know here is you need to know Cyrus the Great is the founder of the Persian Empire. We talked about him. He's the guy that goes and frees the Hebrews, lets them go back to their town. But seriously, you have a chocolate bar already? Oh, man, I'm jealous. And it's going to start as a small tribe in Iran, the Persians. And Cyrus is going to unite the Medes and the Persians together to create the Medo-Persian Empire, or Achaemenid Empire. And he's going to wind up conquering a ton of land. He conquered, like I said, he conquers Media, which is a lot of present-day Persia, going a little bit into Iraq. He's going to conquer the Neo-Babylonian, aka Chaldean empires, which is going to give them the Fertile Crescent, including Judah. And going to conquer a place called Lydia. Lydia is right here in the blue. And Lydia is going to be famous because they're going to be the first people to go and actually start making coins, which is pretty cool. Oh, you have one too? So jelly. All right. Eventually, they're going to conquer parts of Greece and Egypt. So you need to know Cyrus the Great is the founder, and he is going to conquer a lot of land. So we're going to start getting into the legend of Cyrus the Great. And you're not going to need to write what's on the next two slides. Cyrus is going to have a pretty amazing kind of like legend with him. And, you know, Herodotus writes this. I can't tell you how much of it's true or not, but it makes an amazing story. And it starts with a king, Astyages. Now, Astyages was not really known to be a great or kind king, but he was ruler of the Medes. And Astyages is going to have two crazy dreams. All right? And I'm talking crazy. His first dream, he goes to bed one night. And he doesn't wake up, but he goes and dreams that his daughter has a bit of a tummy ache. That's okay. And his daughter lays down on the ground. And then out from his daughter's belly button sprouts a little bit of a tree. Okay, that's kind of weird. Well, the tree keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And if this was like a Wile E. Coyote movie or cartoon, what you'd see is like the camera would start panning back as the tree starts growing, and like it'll pan back, you'll be in space, like seeing the earth, and the tree grows so big that its leaves cover all of the earth. Now, Astyages wakes up and goes to his wise man and say, "I had the wildest dream. I don't know if I had like weird mushrooms or something on my pizza last night, but I just had a dream that my daughter had a tree coming out of her belly button that's leaves covered the whole entire world." You know, Aaron the wise man says, "Oh, well, Astyages, king, that of course means that your daughter will have a son, and this son will wind up being the greatest king ever and overthrow you." And I'm sure Astyages is probably like, "Wise man Aaron, how did you even get that from that dream?" He's like, I'm very wise. So Astyages says, okay, that's a little weird. He goes. Later on, he has an even weirder dream. Okay, I have a question. Have any of you ever like gone to the movie theater or the gas station, got one of those gigantic sodas they have there? I mean, like you go there and you're like, who
Yes.
could possibly drink this much soda? But you're kind of like determined. You're watching the movie, you're enjoying it. You got your star out there, you're sipping. And you get to about like maybe like 3/4 through the movie, and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to go potty so bad. And you're kind of like in your chair, like doing your pee-pee dance because like you don't want to miss part of the movie. Okay, well, this dream, Astyages' daughter, she really has to go potty. Okay, she like really, really has to go potty, and she's like doing her pee-pee dance, all that stuff like that, and she starts going potty. She starts going pee-pee, and it keeps coming and coming.
In the toilet?
Maybe there's I mean, they didn't have toilets back then, so maybe in a hole in the ground. Maybe she couldn't make it to the potty, but she goes and she goes and she goes and she goes so much pee-pee that it floods the entire earth. So now Astyages, he wakes up, he's like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have drank my whole water bottle like before bed. He goes to wise man Caleb this time. Says, wise man Caleb, I had a crazy dream. My daughter went potty and it was so much pee-pee it flooded the entire earth. What does this mean? And wise man Caleb says, oh, well, it means your daughter is going to have a son, and the son will be the greatest king ever and wind up going and overthrowing you. And he goes, how does a bunch of pee-pee mean my grandson is going to overthrow me? I don't know. But wise man Caleb says, well, that's what it means. So Astyages now, from two different wise men, in two crazy dreams, has been told that his grandson will overthrow him. So he does the only sensible thing and says to his most trusted general, Harpagus, I need you to murder my Well, actually, I'm jumping ahead. I'm so sorry. He's not to murder his grandson yet because he doesn't have a grandson. So he gets the great idea. He says, I am not going to have a grandson. So he makes his daughter become a priestess and says, because here's the thing, the priestesses, they're not allowed to marry. They have to serve in the temple all the time. He makes his daughter a priestess, says, no, getting married for you, no kids, because I don't want to be overthrown. So his daughter serves as a priestess, and wouldn't you know it, the god of that temple visits Astyages' daughter. He goes, oh, wow, you're so pretty. Here's some roses, because he's like a guy, he can probably just make them pop out. Like, oh, here's some chocolates, and they fall in love. And of course, they have a baby. Dun, dun, dun. Astyages is furious. He's like, I specifically put you in the temple so you would not have a son. Because, of course, a son is born. So he goes to his general Harpagus and says, kill the newborn. Harpagus says, yes, sir, of course, because he always follows orders. He holds that baby in his arms and he looks. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a newborn baby, but oh my gosh, they're the cutest things in the universe. It will melt anybody's heart. He looks at the baby and goes, oh, you're so cute. How could I ever hurt you? But he has to do his duty. So he goes over to the mountain, and his plan is to leave the baby on the mountainside and for the baby to die. But he runs into a shepherd, and he says, oh, this is perfect, because I can't bring myself to do this. Shepherd, take this baby and let it die by the mountainside, and let me know and give me the body when you're done. Well, the shepherd goes. And you see, his wife and he had just lost their baby. They didn't have hospitals back then. They didn't have medicine. So sometimes babies died. And they just had a baby that just died. He goes to his wife and says, what if we keep this baby as our own? What if this is a gift from the gods? We'll give the body of our child and we'll raise little Cyrus as our own. The wife agrees. They go to Harpagus and say, here is the baby. Of course, it's their baby, not really Cyrus. Cyrus is alive. They raise Cyrus up to be their own child. Happily ever after, right? No, the story has to keep going. Okay, so here's one of the things we have to understand. Today we know that everybody is like the same inside. There's nothing that changes Avery from Supriya to Mariah to Aaron to me. We're all equal. Everybody, people are people. We know that. Back then they didn't believe that. They thought literally that royalty had better blood. That royalty, we have Avery, But if Avery was like, Prince Avery, he'd be more handsome, more talented, better at everything, better spoken. There was something about being royalty that made people just physically different. Yeah, he'd be able to solve that Rubik's Cube in like 0 seconds because he's just like a genius, all because he's royalty. But we know people are people. Well, everyone's like, how is this Cyrus the son of a shepherd family? Because like this guy, there's something special about him. And he was in town playing a game with the other boys, and they were playing a game called King. And the rules of King was pretty simple. One person gets to be the king, and they boss their friends around. So Lance gets to be king. He says, all right, go tie my shoes. Go get me a sandwich. All this stuff. Well, has anybody ever had it when they're playing with their friends, and when it's their turn finally, their friends don't want to play as much? They don't want to. Yeah, it's so annoying. I had that happen with my cousin all the time. When it was my turn, all of a sudden, like, he didn't really want to play. Well, this one boy, his dad was a noble, says, I don't want to listen to you. I'm not going to do that. So Cyrus says, men, hold him down. And of course, because he's king, they do it. And he whips that noble boy. Yeah, I know. Kind of overreacting, am I right? Well, I have a question. If you went home to your parents, because of course that boy afterwards, he runs home crying to his mommy and daddy, which, he's just beaten by his friends. Do you think your parents are going to be, how are they going to react?
They're probably going to be like, be all over you asking if you're okay.
Oh, yeah. And they're probably going to be mad at that kid that beat you up, right? It's definitely like, Karachi's parents would be calling up the other kid's parents and be like, hey, what went on between our kids here? And they would be very unhappy and expect a punishment. So they call Cyrus in, because remember, his dad was a noble. He knew the king. So they call Cyrus in and they say, Cyrus, why did you beat that boy? And he goes, isn't that how a king would respond if someone didn't listen? And instead of being like, no, you don't beat up your friends, they're like, oh my goodness, what a wise answer. It's like this guy has royal blood or something. And then look at him, they're like, wait a minute. You look a little bit like King Astyages. He's like, well, I don't know why. My parents are just shepherds. This gets to King Astyages. And he goes, hey, Harpagus, come here. And Harpagus comes here and says, about 10 years ago, Harpagus, I gave you an infant boy. And I gave you the explicit orders to kill him. A couple days later, you came back with a baby boy's body, and you told me that it was the boy I told you to kill. Did you, by chance, not kill that boy? And Harpagus, the guilt has been weighing on him for years, because he's always followed orders. He's always listened. And Harpagus says, I'm sorry, sire. I couldn't hurt the child. I held the baby in my arms, and I said I couldn't do it. So then he went and gave the boy to the shepherds, and the shepherds then gave me a body, and I just assumed that it was the boy. I'm so sorry, King Astyages. And then wouldn't you know it, King Astyages is relieved. He says, oh, thank goodness, Harpagus, my grandson is alive. Clearly this Cyrus is my blood. I can tell he's so wise, and he's so handsome and talented. I'm so happy. We must celebrate. And Astyages holds a banquet to celebrate the return of Cyrus, his grandson, his true heir to the throne. And he says, Harpagus, because of your actions, you must be my guest of honor along with Cyrus. Invite your whole family. It's going to be amazing. Well, that's unexpected, isn't it? You'd think Astyages would be angry, right, over this, like he'd being disobeyed, like especially because he had those two crazy dreams, like the pee-pee covering the earth and the tree covering the earth. I mean, I guess he forgot about those things, and he was just overjoyed about his grandson. Or was he? Harpagus is at the table, eating the food at the feast. And Astyages goes to Harpagus and says, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, for not following orders. And I'm so glad to have my grandson. Where's your family? I told you to invite them for this feast. And Harpagus says, it's so strange. Yeah, my son sent a message saying he was on his way. I don't know where he is either. Then Astyages with a sinister look on his face, says, "Hey, how do you like your meal?" And of course, you're never supposed to like complain to the king or anything. So of course, Harpagus is like, "Oh yes, it's very delicious, sir. It's the best meal I've ever had." Because that's what you tell a king. You always, are very grateful and very kind to him. Then Astyages goes, "Would you like to see the animal we slaughtered for your special feast?" And now Harpagus right now is probably thinking in his head, "Okay, this is getting really, really weird here." He's probably getting a weird feeling in his stomach like, "Oh no, what is this going to be?" Well, he goes, "Okay, sir, yes, of course. I would love to, if that will please you." Astyages, he snaps his fingers like that, and one of like his servants comes. Now, you ever see it in the movies where like there's that big like silver tray and it's got like that silver little lid on top? So, he comes out with that, and he orders the servant to lift the tray, and there, wouldn't you believe it, is the head and hands of Harpagus' son. Astyages truly did not forgive Harpagus and fed him his own son. Now I imagine probably Harpagus probably threw up a little bit in his mouth, probably asked to be excused, and ran away here. So Astyages turns out to be a little evil, and his vengeance is horrific. Well, he spares Cyrus, though. He doesn't kill Cyrus. He lets Cyrus live. And it's so brutal. And wouldn't you know it, Cyrus does raise an army of Persians up against Astyages. And Cyrus raises this army up, and of course, Astyages goes and once again asks Harpagus, his most trusted general, to lead the army against him. Well, Harpagus and his army lines up here. Cyrus and his army lines up here. And then Harpagus marches over to Cyrus and joins him. He orders his army to do an about-face, to turn around, and the two armies together overthrow the evil King Astyages, and Cyrus becomes king of the Medes and the Persians. So he got what was coming to him. That's one of my all-time favorite stories, but let me tell you, there are so many more amazing stories I'm going to do with Persia. I think the Persian Empire